The cold stars shone silently above the shattered surface of Zereth, a planet once vibrant with life, now a gray husk of ash and rubble. Zalara, the lone survivor of her species, crouched beneath the twisted remains of what had been her home. She was small by human standards, her purple-scaled skin reflecting the dim light of distant suns. Her eyes, large and iridescent, scanned the horizon nervously, alert for any sign of movement. But all she could hear was the whisper of the wind carrying dust across the ruins. For centuries, her people had lived peacefully. They were explorers, thinkers, and artisans, believing that conflict was a flaw of weaker civilizations. They had never understood war, not in the way humans did. Yet here she was, alone and trembling, trying to comprehend the devastation humans had wrought upon the aggressor who had attacked them. Zalara's mind wandered back to the first day she had seen humans. It was not the day they came with fire and weapons, no, that came later. At first, humans were like nothing she had ever seen. Towering, strange-looking creatures with pale skin and hair of various colors, moving with an energy she could not match. They arrived in sleek ships that hummed with power, landing near the neutral zone of her star system. From a distance, Zalara watched them. They seemed curious, observing the planets and moons around them. They did not attack immediately. They studied. She remembered how her people had thought them harmless at first. But even then, there had been something in their eyes, an intensity, a drive, a strange kind of hunger for knowledge that sometimes frightened her. It was during that first observation that she had realized the humans were not like any species she had known. They were unpredictable, resilient, and unafraid. When the hostile alien fleet, a group of raiders who had terrorized her world, approached, humans did not flee. Instead, they organized themselves quickly, sharing signals and strategies in a language Zalara could barely understand. Their ships moved like living creatures, dodging enemy fire and striking with precision. Zalara could not believe what she was seeing. One human ship, small and seemingly fragile, had faced an entire squadron of raiders and emerged victorious. The humans had not panicked, even as explosions tore through space around them. Their courage was staggering, terrifying in its way. She had watched, hidden and wide-eyed, as one human pilot performed maneuvers no one had thought possible, saving another ship from certain destruction. It was then that the first shivers of fear ran down her spine. Humans were capable of great destruction, but they were also careful. They did not attack indiscriminately. They fought with purpose. Zalara had never seen anything like it. Days passed. Zalara continued to observe, hiding in the shadows of crumbling buildings and beneath scorched canopies of trees. She noted how humans cared for each other, even in battle. One human had risked their life to pull another from the wreckage of a fallen ship, their movements precise, deliberate, and unwavering. The act was small in the grand scope of war, yet it burned in Zalara's memory, a spark of something remarkable in a species that could be so frighteningly brutal. Then came the first real test. The hostile aliens, enraged by their losses, targeted the human fleet with everything they had. Zalara, witnessing from the ruins of her own city, felt her heart pound as humans scrambled to defend themselves. Explosions rocked the atmosphere, lighting the dark skies with fire and smoke. Zalara had never seen such chaos, and yet the humans did not falter. A squad of raiders descended toward her location, weapons drawn, scanning for survivors. Zalara froze. She had nowhere to hide, nowhere to run. Her mind raced. Her species had always relied on stealth, avoidance, and diplomacy to survive. But the humans, they fought with a force that seemed unstoppable. A sudden roar filled the air and a human squad appeared, their weapons blazing. The raiders, though larger and more numerous, faltered under the humans' precise strikes. Zalara's jaw dropped as she watched a human throw a small device that exploded mid-air, disabling the enemy fleet's navigation systems. It was a simple act, but its impact was massive. One by one, the raiders retreated, their confidence shattered by the humans' unyielding resolve. Zalara could not look away. The humans did not celebrate their victory. Instead, they moved quickly to rescue injured aliens, both friend and foe. They treated wounds, offered water, and even protected those too weak to flee. There was a strange duality in them, fierce in battle yet compassionate in care. It was the combination that made them terrifying and fascinating. After the battle, Zalara crept closer to the human ships. She had no choice. Her world was destroyed and she was alone. If she wanted to survive, she had to seek help. She approached cautiously, her hands raised in the universal gesture of peace. A human soldier, taller than she had imagined, with kind but alert eyes, spotted her. "Who are you?" the human asked in a language Zalara barely understood. Their voice was calm yet commanding. Zalara stammered, trying to explain herself. She gestured to her ruined home, the ashes of her people, the smoke rising in the distance. The human nodded, understanding, or at least pretending to, and motioned for her to follow. As she climbed aboard the human ship, Zalara felt a mixture of relief and unease. These creatures could have ignored her, or worse, seen her as another target. Instead, they had offered her sanctuary. She watched them closely, noting their teamwork, their laughter, and the strange way they kept spirits high even in the face of danger. They sang songs, shared stories, and repaired their ships with ingenuity that defied logic. The journey through space was long. Zalara learned more about humans with each passing day. They were resourceful, able to solve problems under impossible circumstances. They joked to ease tension and yet remained deadly focused when needed. Her species had always valued intelligence, but humans combined it with courage in a way she had never seen before. One night, Zalara sat under the artificial lights of the ship's observation deck, staring at the stars. She remembered her planet, the forests, the rivers, and the cities now gone. A human approached, carrying a small cup of liquid that smelled unfamiliar but soothing. "You okay?" the human asked gently. "You look haunted." Zalara nodded, unable to speak. How could she explain what she had seen? The humans were terrifying in their strength, yet they were noble, capable of acts of bravery that transcended species. They had destroyed enemies with precision and strategy, but they had also shown mercy, compassion, and loyalty. The human sat beside her, not pushing, just observing. "You'll get used to us," they said softly. "Or maybe you'll just keep wondering why we're so relentless." Zalara thought about that word. Relentless. It described humans perfectly. They were unstoppable when they believed in a cause. They fought not just for survival, but for each other, for their friends, and even for strangers. It was a concept alien to her, yet mesmerizing. Days turned into weeks. Zalara trained with the humans, learning their language, their strategies, their ways of moving and thinking. She saw them face danger again and again, never breaking under pressure. They adapted, innovated, and improvised, turning impossible situations into victories. She realized the humans' brutality was not mindless aggression. It was controlled, intelligent, and purposeful. Then came a mission that would test everything Zalara had learned. The human fleet had received reports of a rebel alien faction threatening a nearby colony. Zalara was to accompany them, to observe and, if necessary, assist. Her heart raced. She was terrified, but a part of her felt a strange anticipation. As they approached the planet, Zalara watched humans prepare for battle. Each soldier checked their gear, each pilot ran simulations in their mind. There was fear, yes, but it was tempered with focus and determination. Zalara felt a shiver of admiration. These beings faced death willingly for the sake of others, and yet never lost themselves to panic or despair. The battle began with sudden intensity. Explosions tore through the skies, alien ships darting and weaving through human fire. Zalara's hand shook as she watched humans move with incredible coordination. One pilot, small and agile, darted through enemy lines, disabling weapons and saving allied ships from destruction. On the ground, humans moved through chaos, rescuing civilians and coordinating defenses with precision that amazed Zalara. And yet, even in victory, humans did not celebrate. They tended to the injured, secured the area, and prepared for the next threat. It was a discipline she had never seen before. They fought hard, yes, but they valued life, every life they could protect. As the battle ended, Zalara stood among the survivors, breathing heavily. She looked at the humans around her, at their scars, their fatigue, and their unwavering eyes. They were terrifying. They were brilliant. They were extraordinary. Zalara knew in that moment that her species had never understood what true courage meant. Humans were unlike anything she had ever encountered, and she, a survivor, would have to carry this knowledge forward, that the galaxy was now home to a species that could face impossible odds and triumph, not just with strength, but with heart, she whispered to herself, as she watched the human captain give orders for repairs and recovery. If humanity ever fully awakens in the stars, the universe will have to take notice. The stars stretched endlessly across the dark canvas of space as Zilara stood on the observation deck of the human flagship. She had spent weeks aboard the vessel, learning the rhythms of human life, the chatter, the laughter, the careful planning that never paused, even during battle. And yet nothing had fully prepared her for what came next. The humans had received urgent reports of a massive rebel alien force threatening a neutral colony on the outer rim. It was a critical mission, and the fleet moved with purpose. Zilara watched the preparations with a mixture of awe and anxiety. Humans moved with an energy and focus that was impossible to ignore. They did not panic, they did not complain, they simply acted. Every movement was precise, every command clear, every action deliberate. She remembered her own people who would have hesitated, debated endlessly, and perhaps delayed until it was too late. Humans acted immediately, decisively, and without fear. Zilara shivered. There was a kind of beauty in it, a terrifying brilliance. "Zilara," said Captain Reynolds, a tall human with silver hair and sharp eyes, "you've seen our battles before, but this will show you what we're capable of." Zilara nodded silently, gripping the railing. She had seen the humans' efficiency in small skirmishes, but a full-scale battle, one that could decide the fate of an entire colony, was something entirely different. The fleet approached the planet. Zilara could see the alien forces spread across the surface, ships hovering, weapons primed, and hundreds of alien soldiers moving in disciplined formations. The humans did not hesitate. They dropped from orbit with precision, landing troops and vehicles in perfect synchronization. Explosions lit the skies as humans and aliens collided in battle. Zilara's heart pounded. On the ground, humans moved through the chaos like dancers in a deadly ballet. They were fearless, coordinating with one another through hand signals, shouts, and even small devices that pulsed with light. Each soldier seemed aware not just of their own mission, but of every human around them. They protected each other, pulled the injured from harm, and fought relentlessly against overwhelming odds. She saw Lieutenant Harper, a young human woman, lift a fallen comrade and sprint across open terrain under enemy fire. Zilara's stomach tightened as bullets zipped past, yet Harper did not falter. Another human, a pilot named Diaz, maneuvered his vehicle through enemy lines with impossible skill, disabling weapons and saving trapped civilians. Zilara had never seen anything like it. Humans did not merely survive, they adapted. They improvised. They turned impossible situations into victories with courage and creativity. And yet, even in the midst of such brutality, there was a clear sense of discipline. They did not waste energy on unnecessary destruction. Every act had purpose, every movement counted. From her vantage point, Zilara noticed the humans' dual nature. They fought with ferocity, yet they also showed compassion. Civilians and neutral aliens were evacuated first, and the humans ensured that those unable to fight were protected. She realized that what she had called brutality before was not mere violence, it was controlled, deliberate, and directed toward survival and protection, not chaos. Hours passed. The battlefield was a whirlwind of motion, fire, and sound. Zilara moved alongside the humans, carrying supplies and assisting where she could. She observed their resilience. When one human was injured, another immediately covered them, dragging them to safety while still engaging the enemy. The humans did not allow fear to paralyze them. They turned it into action, into courage that inspired those around them. At one point, an enormous alien war machine appeared, towering above the battlefield, firing with devastating power. The humans did not hesitate. They coordinated an attack, combining ground forces, aerial units, and precision strikes to bring it down. Zilara watched as humans risked everything to save others, climbing onto the war machine, planting devices, and retreating just in time before it exploded. Zilara's mind reeled. Her species had valued intellect, strategy, and observation. Humans valued all of that too, but they added something no one else had: courage under fire, loyalty to their companions, and a willingness to risk everything for what they believed was right. It was a combination that had no parallel in the galaxy. After the war machine was destroyed, the humans regrouped. Zilara noticed their exhaustion, the sweat, the dirt, the wounds, but they remained vigilant. There was no time for rest, no time to admire their own achievements. Every action was tied to the mission, to the protection of others, to the survival of the colony. Zilara had begun to understand something profound. Humans were relentless, not because they lacked fear, but because they chose to act in spite of it. They did not hesitate, they did not falter, and they did not surrender to despair. Their strength was not just physical or technological. It was moral, ethical, and deeply personal. Every choice they made reflected their values, their courage, and their willingness to protect life, even at great risk to themselves. The battle was not yet over. The alien rebels regrouped, launching a surprise attack on the human supply lines. Zilara followed a team of human soldiers as they rushed to intercept the enemy. The humans moved with incredible coordination, each member knowing their role and executing it flawlessly. They communicated without words, anticipating each other's actions, covering every angle. In the midst of the chaos, Zilara saw something that shook her deeply. One human soldier, small and young, had been separated from the group. Alien attackers surrounded them. Without hesitation, a group of humans charged into danger, breaking through enemy lines and rescued their comrade. They fought as one, displaying unity and determination that left Zilara speechless. Later, as the humans regrouped, Captain Reynolds approached her. "You've seen a lot today," he said, his voice calm but steady. "But you haven't seen everything. Humanity fights not just with weapons, we fight with spirit. That is what makes us dangerous to those who wish to harm others." Zilara nodded, struggling to put her thoughts into words. She had witnessed bravery, intelligence, and skill. But more than that, she had witnessed something unique. A species that combined strategy with heart, ruthlessness with ethics, and strength with compassion. As night fell over the battlefield, Zilara walked among the humans. She saw soldiers tending the wounded, pilots repairing ships, engineers coordinating logistics. They laughed softly, shared meals, and comforted one another. Even after facing horrors that would have shattered other species, they retained a sense of humanity, a refusal to surrender their morals or their bonds. Zilara realized that humans were more than warriors. They were protectors, innovators, and caretakers. They faced danger not for conquest, not for power, but for something deeper, the safety and survival of others. Their victories were not measured only in destruction, but in the lives they saved, the communities they protected, and the hope they inspired. In the quiet moments after the battle, Zilara reflected on what she had seen. Her species had prided itself on peace and intellect, yet humans had taught her a lesson no classroom or book could convey. Courage was not simply a lack of fear, it was the choice to act despite it. Bravery was not recklessness, it was disciplined, focused, and compassionate. And strength was not only in weapons or technology, it was in spirit, in willpower, and in the bonds that connected them. Zilara approached the observation deck once more, gazing at the stars that stretched across the sky. She knew that humans were now a force to be reckoned with in the galaxy, not just for their skill in battle, but for their extraordinary spirit. She whispered softly to herself, recording her thoughts for her people. They are dangerous, yes, but not because they destroy. They are dangerous because they inspire. They fight not just for themselves, but for others. And in that lies a power we have never known. The human captain joined her silently, looking at the horizon. "You'll see more," he said. "Humans never stop. We adapt, we endure. And when the universe tests us, we rise. That is who we are," Zilara nodded. She had witnessed humans at their fiercest and at their kindest. She had seen them face impossible odds, save lives, and protect their allies with a courage and creativity no other species possessed. She knew that her people would have to reconsider everything they thought they knew about warfare, resilience, and morality. The stars seemed brighter that night, and Zilara felt a strange warmth in her chest. Despite the destruction, the fear, and the horror she had witnessed, she also felt hope. Humanity was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen, and she had been given the rare chance to understand them from the inside. For the first time since the fall of her world, Zilara smiled. She was a survivor, yes, but she was also a witness. She would carry the story of humans' bravery, ingenuity, and unyielding spirit to the stars, sharing with her people what she had seen. And somewhere deep inside, she knew the truth. The galaxy had changed forever, not because of humans' weapons or technology, but because of their heart. Zilara's final thought as she watched the fleet move to the next mission was simple, yet profound. If humanity ever fully awakens among the stars, no one will forget them. Not for their battles, not for their victories, but for the courage and compassion that make them truly human.